Denise Gwen, reading aloud for you from my novel, His Christmas Eve Proposal, Book 3 of the Medicine Women of Alaska, Chapter 34. Considering the fact he was already close by his practice, Drew decided to pop inside and let Phyllis know of today's plans. He burst inside, made a great show of scrubbing the clods of dirt from his boots, then called out to his loyal nurse. "Phyllis, can you please cancel my afternoon appointments?" Drew scrubbed his hands through his hair as he walked and talked. "I'm heading out to Anchorage to collect Paul." "All right, Dr. Rutherford," Phyllis said. "How's your brother?" "He's fine. He rode the medevac with Ricardo Velasquez over to Anchorage Memorial, and he called me a little bit ago to ask for a ride home." "Okay, well, enjoy your day." She smiled up brightly at him. "Why don't you take that cute little lady doctor with you? Make a day of it." "I tried," he said, and winced. "Oh, well, no disrespect to you, Dr. Rutherford, but if Mr. Velasquez needs additional surgery, Dr. Schuster can weigh in with her opinion. She's a fantastic surgeon." "Yes, she is," Drew said absently as a text appeared on his screen. When he clicked on his cell, he saw a message from Paul. "Forgot to mention this, but please don't bring Dr. Schuster. Apparently, the Velasquez family doesn't want her anywhere near Ricardo." He tamped down a thread of anger and cleared the screen. "Ah, she is amazing," Drew said, "but unfortunately, the patient and his family don't want Dr. Schuster to set foot near him." "Oh, for goodness sakes," Phyllis said, "just because she was a runaway bride?" At this, Drew started with surprise. "Where'd you hear that?" "I didn't hear it," Phyllis said, showing him her cell phone. "I read it on the morning news." Drew looked at it. Yep, sure enough, there read the headline. "Runaway bride operates on beau who rejected her. Did she try to kill him?" "Oh my God," Drew said. "Are you kidding me?" According to the latest news feed, Ricardo Velasquez has taken a turn for the worse, and he's not expected. At that moment, his cell phone dinged. Again, a message from Paul. "Don't bother coming to get me. Velasquez family wants me to stay until Ricardo recovers." Drew texted back, "Got it. How are you?" The response, "I'm fine, but Velasquez family has knives out for Naomi." Great, just great. Phyllis looked up. "What'd Paul say?" "He's staying with the patient until he recovers, and you're right, Phyllis. The entire Velasquez family hates Naomi's guts." He shook his head with anger. "It's so unfair." "I know," she said, "but there was a clear conflict of interest. Someone else should have inserted that chest tube." "I know, Phyllis, but she's the best surgeon around, and at the time, I didn't know who the man was." "Did Naomi?" He considered. He remembered how frantic it had been. A long day. He felt at fault, for he dragged her up the mountain after she'd exhausted herself working so hard. And as he thought on it now, he did remember a slight hesitation on her part when she got a good look at the patient's face. He should have stopped her, found out why she'd hesitated, because it was so unlike Naomi to fail to delve headfirst into her work. "Well," he said at last, "I don't need to drive out to Anchorage then." He turned on his heel and walked back to his office. If nothing else, he could dictate some reports. The door to his office knocked and Phyllis poked her head in. I did just get a walk-in. She looks like she's in pain. Who is it? Some young lady who's moving here to run the drinks concession for the new hotel. All right, Drew said, I may as well see her. As he stood up from behind his desk, he glanced out through the window to the right to Naomi's medical practice. He didn't see her. By some random chance, they both had office windows that faced one another. But this didn't surprise him because she told him she had work to do and she was probably up to her ears in reports. He walked out of his office and attended to the walk-in patient. Later that evening, after he'd finished with his patients, he walked back into his office and once more glanced across the street to the window of Naomi's office. To his surprise, the office lights were dark, and then he noticed a few people with cameras on their shoulders, wandering down the street and peering in through her office window. Okay, so the vultures were circling. No doubt they planned on ambushing her, but it appeared as if she'd left her office early. And at this realization, a tremor of strangeness flitted through him. It wasn't like Naomi to finish work early. She'd had a bunch of patients who'd wanted to see her. He fully expected she'd be busy until late, but he saw no sign of her. Drew leaned forward to put his elbows on his desk and his head in his hands. What was he going to do? A tickling sensation in his heart told him that somewhere in the past 48 hours he'd blundered. He'd said something wrong. He hadn't implored her enough to stay with him and just take a little time off for herself. At some point in their journey, he'd committed a critical mistake.